Okay, let's take a look at triads. We're going to look at triads using the G, B, and E string. We're going to look at the 3 major triads and the 3 minor triads. They're all the same shape, we just flatten the third, of course. So in this case, we're going to look at G, and we're going to find all the G's on these 3 strings. And so we're going to have a root position triad. We're going to have a first inversion triad where the third is in the bass, and we're going to have a second inversion triad where the 5th is in the bass. So let's start out way up the neck here, and we're going to look at this shape. So we've got, again, this is G major triad, and this is our first inversion position. So we've got 3, 5, 1, or B, D, G. So that is the G, or the root note, is on the E string in your first inversion triad. And then we're going to come down to our second inversion triad, which is the D shape. And so that means we need to find our root note G on the B string. And then we'll apply that second inversion triad shape there. And then we have our root position triad for G, that'll be right here. So again, we find the root or the G note on the G string. So it's 1, 3, 5, or G, B, D. And I like to finger this with using my pinky and my ring finger. You could also try doing it with your middle finger and your ring finger, but I find it harder to hold that shape once we go up the neck there, once we go down the neck. Okay, so again, in review, our first position triad, we have our root note on the E string, our third is on the G string, and then our second inversion is the D shape. Your G note is down here on the B string on the 8th fret, and then our root position is way up here. We've got 12, 12, and 10. Okay, so now we're going to make all of those major triads minor. So we'll go back to our first inversion. And so that means the third is right here in the bass because it's the first inversion. So we're going to flatten that third. And there we have our G minor triad, or our first inversion minor triad. And then we'll come back to the second inversion triad, the D shape here. And we know that our it's 5, 1, 3. So it's the note on our E string this B that we need to flatten to B flat. So I'm going to change my fingering a little bit. Again, that was major to minor. And then our root position. Again, it's 1, 3, 5. So it's the note here, this B note on the B string that we're going to come back one half step. And so it'll sound like this. So then we have 12, 11, 10. Okay? And so now the purpose of you learning these triads and playing them in the context of a song, a chord progression, we're going to take a look at a 1, 5, 4, 1 chord progression in D. Now, what we want to do is use all of our inversions so that we can find those chords in a very close to each other on the fretboard, and or something that is easy to kind of switch between, thinking about our finger movements with economy. Okay, so we're gonna find this D note right here. It's a root D note triad. So that means your root note is right here on the G string. So that's D. Okay, so we have 1, 3, 5. And then, so we're going to go from D to A. So our closest A is going to be this first inversion A, right here. And so the next thing we're going to do is go to G. We have a couple options there. We can either come down to this G, or we can come up to this G. And the reason I like to come to this G right here is because it's going to make it I'll be a little bit quicker to get to this D. So let's see what that sounds like. Okay, so that is D, A, G, D. Okay, that's it for this lesson.